Today we are talking about quadratic equation and quadratic function. So far we learned about linear equation or equation of a straight line, and you learned how to graph it. Now we are talking about something new. When you see this one, you might ask why the graph has curved instead of straight line. Because we are dealing with quadratic function. And what is quadratic equation or quadratic function? Let's start with quadratic equation and then go to quadratic function. Quadratic equation is when the x in the equation has exponent. Remember, the x in the linear equation doesn't have any exponent, but in quadratic equation we have exponent. And exponent is always 2. The highest exponent is 2. So we have a leading coefficient that is 2, and we have several terms. The standard form for writing a quadratic equation is ax to the second power plus bx plus c equals to 0. This is a standard form of writing a quadratic equation. This is a specific type. It's always written in this way, and a cannot be 0, so a cannot be 0, and the equation is always set equal to 0. So this is the standard form of writing the equation. Now, the formula has 3 letters, A, B, and C. A is always the number in front of a squared form. So we have, for instance, let's say we have 4x to the second power, or 4x squared plus 2x minus 3 equal to 0. So this one is A, and it's always written in front of our x squared. And then we have B, that is a number in front of x term, so we have B that is always written in front of x1, and then we have our C, or constant, that we are familiar with. In this case, our C is minus 3, our B is 2, and our A is 4. Or let's say we have another one. Let's say we have x to the second power plus 9x plus 18 equals to 0. We have a coefficient of 1 here that we prefer not to write it, and we have our b is 9 here, and the constant is 18, right? So this is the format of writing a quadratic equation. It's always written in this way, and you always have a x squared, a constant, and a term that has coefficient and x doesn't have any exponent, and it's always set equal to 0. What about quadratic function? Quadratic function, let me write it here. Quadratic function has some characteristic. First, a quadratic function can be described as an equation with the format of f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a cannot be 0. This is first characteristic of a quadratic function. So a, this one, cannot be 0, right? So the second characteristic of the quadratic function is a function. It is a function where for each x there are real numbers. So there are real numbers for each x. What does that mean? It means if we have f of x equals to ax squared plus bx plus c, a, b, and c are real numbers. They cannot be 0. So a and b and c, all of them are real numbers. They are real numbers and cannot be 0. Right? And the third characteristic of a quadratic function is the greatest power of the variable is 2. So it has a power of 2. So as you can see, ax squared, this square is always the characteristic of a quadratic function. Then you have ax plus c equals to 0. So the important part of that is a quadratic function always has an exponent of 2. Now, let's see how can we solve and to graph a quadratic function. There are two main popular ways to solve a quadratic function. So, two main ways to solve. So, the first one is by factoring. That we practiced factoring before, and the second one is by computing the roots using the quadratic formula. So by computing the roots using quadratic formula, which is x equals to minus b plus a minus radical b to the second power minus 4ac over 2a. So let's try to solve some quadratic equation with factoring. Let's say we have x to the second power plus 3x minus 10 equals to 0. By using each of these two ways, in fact, we are breaking down the numbers to see what is the root of this equation that we can see, right? Here, since we have a minus sign and a positive sign, we know that our two parts of the expression, one has minus and one has positive. At this point, we have to figure out which two numbers we can multiply together and get 10, and when we add or subtract them to get 3. The factor can be, let's say we have two parentheses here. We have a minus and a positive sign. We have x in both of these parentheses because we have an x squared. It means x multiplied by itself. So we have x in both, and now we know that if we multiply 5 and together we get 10. And if one of them is negative, one is positive, in fact we are subtracting, right? So we have a 5 and a 2. So what two factor? When we multiply that, we get 10, and when we subtract, we get positive 3. So it has to be positive 5 and negative 2. and then this is equal to 0. This is the root of this one. Let's try and see if we are correct. We can use the FOIL method, and that is we multiply this one. Let me change the color. We multiply x by x, and then we multiply x by 2, and then we multiply 5 by x and 5 by 2, right? So x times x is x squared. X times minus 2 is minus 2x. Then we have 5 times x plus 5x. Then minus 2 and 5 together times together will have minus 10. We simplify this one. X squared minus 2x plus 5x is 3x and minus 10. We get the same answer, and we set it equal to 0. Now this is the solution we are looking for. X equals to 5 and minus 2. This is our solution. Let's do another example. Let's say we have x squared plus 6x plus 9 equal to 0. Again, we need to know what x is and what numbers are multiplied together. We get 9, and if they add or subtract it, we get 6. So it might be confusing for some people, and there are other ways to do that, and might be easier for you personally. We can draw a chart for it and find the factors that give us 9 and 6. So if our constant is 9, what two numbers times together give us 9? Or C, it's if we multiply 1 and 9, it gives us 9. Or minus 1 times 9, right? Or 3 times 3 minus 3 times minus 3. These two again give us 9. And also, I think that's it. We don't have any more factors that multiply together give us 9. And then we need to know the sum of two numbers that is going to give us b. So the b is just going to be sum. This one I should have put c is factors. So there must be a negative sign here. So we add these up, and we'll get 10 minus 10, 6 minus 6. So 3 and 3 are two factors that if multiply give us 9. If they are add up, they give us a 6. So now we can plug these 3 in a binomial form, and we'll have x plus 3 times x plus 3. If you multiply it using again the same method we used last time, you'll get the answer, the same answer as this one. So x times x is x squared, plus x times 3 is 3x, plus 3 times x is 3x, plus 3 times 3 is 9. We simplify it, we'll have x squared plus 3x plus 6x plus 9. So our set is x is equal to 3 and 3. Let's do one more example, which seems more complicated than previous one. Solve this equation by factoring x times 6x plus 1 equals to 2. And after solving that by factoring, you need to write it in standard form, quadratic equation standard form. So The first thing we do is to simplify this equation. We have x times 6x plus 1. X times 6x is 6x2. X times 1 is x, and equals to 2. Now we know that the formula for quadratic equation is ax2 plus bx plus c equals to 0. So we need to get rid of this one and set it equal to 0. In order to do that, we can subtract 2 from both sides. Then we'll have 6x2 plus x minus 2 equals to 2 minus 2. These two cancel out. Then we'll have 6x squared plus x minus 2 equals to 0. Now it's time for factorization, right? So what two factors are times together or multiplied together and give us this equation? So the numbers must be, let me put the parentheses first. We have a number that when multiplied together give us 6x2. It must be 3x and 2x. It's positive, the signs are positive, and when we multiply these two, we'll get 6x2, right? Then there has to be two numbers. When we multiplied, give us minus 2, and if we add them up, give us just 1, right? So it must be positive 2 and negative 1. Let's try and see if we get the same answer. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times minus 1 is minus 3x. Then 2 times 2x is positive 4x. And 2 times 1, and the sign are negative and positive, will have 2. Now we can simplify, and we'll have 6x2 minus 3x and positive 4x will have just x and minus 2 equals to 0. So our set is 2 and minus 1. So this is the set of solution for our example. As I said, we have two ways of solving a quadratic equation. One is by factoring, the one we have done so far. And the second is using quadratic formula. Quadratic formula is written as x equals to minus b positive and negative radical b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is the formula. We can solve any quadratic equation by using this quadratic formula. It's very handy. Sometimes you can solve a quadratic equation through factorization. So in that case, you need to use this formula to solve it. So let's try 2x squared plus x equals to 50. As you know, the standard form for the equation is ax squared plus bx plus c set to 0, right? Equals to 0. Now, we have to turn this one to a standard form. We write it as 2x squared plus x. We remove 15 from right side and bring it to the left side, and the sign will change to minus 15 equals to 0. Now we can plug it into our quadratic formula, which is x equals to minus b positive and negative, or plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac and over 2a, right? The reason we have a plus and minus here is to show you that we have two roots or two solutions for this quadratic equation. Now let's solve this quadratic equation through the formula, right? So we plug in the numbers. X equals to minus b is 1, so minus 1, my negative sign we put out of parentheses and we multiply it to 1 later, plus and minus, we have minus 1 again, or b to the second power, minus 4, a is 2 times 2, and times minus 15. Then it's over 2a, right? So we do the operation. We'll have minus 1, positive and negative, plus and minus. Minus 1 to the second power is 1, minus 4 times 2 is 8, minus 8 times minus 15 is going to be positive 120, right? And all is over 2a is 2. Now we'll have x equals to minus 1 plus and minus 121 over 4. 121 is, we have a perfect square for that, which is 11. So x equals to minus 1 plus and minus 11 over 4, right? Now let's do the rest here. We can write this one as x equals to minus 1 minus 11 over 4, and then we'll have x equals to minus 1 positive 1 over 4. This one is going to be minus 12 over 4, and it equals to minus 3. Then we have 10 over 4. We can simplify these two by 2 and have 5 over 2. So our solution for x is 5 over 2 and minus 3. These are solutions to this quadratic equation. Now, before starting a quadratic function, let's do some exercise at home. So use the quadratic formula each equation. So let's say we have 3x2 or 3x squared minus x plus 2 equals to 0, and 4x squared plus 8x minus 5 equals to 0. X to the second power minus x plus 1 equals to 0. Then let's say we have minus 4x squared plus 16x equals to minus 28. Minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 4 equals to 0. Let's say 6x squared minus 7x equals to minus 2. Now let's focus on quadratic functions.